Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk Maywood on Diversity Today Media. I am your host, Dr. Reggie Ratliff, and I'm happy to invite my co-host, my co-laborer in the vineyard, and investment advisor, Terrence Hollingsworth. Good evening, Terry.
Good evening. How are you, Dr. Ratliff?
I'm good, my brother. How was your day? How was the stock market? How's that looking?
We got another 75 basis points today from the Federal Reserve. So,
Yeah.
it was expected, but, it's putting everything in perspective. I mean, this has just been a crazy year. If you own the S&P 500, you're down about 25% so far this year. Um, we have normally October is a month where the market, kind of sell off, but at the end of September, 80% of the stock market was on sale signals. So,
Right.
it was oversold. There was not much further lower it could go. And so, guess what we get? Instead of October being one of the worst months of the year, it was one of the best months in the history of the stock market, right?
Hold on. So everybody those pundits who are saying that President Biden is not doing a good job and the economy is at its worst ever since any administration. That what you just said, does that debunk what those pundits are saying?
Yeah, everybody, especially political people, right?
Yeah,
They're going to take what's going on, and even if it was a great market, they would find a way to poke a hole in it. And the truth is that we had COVID, we had other things that really were not the fault of the administration, right?
right.
I can fault Biden for several things, but you can't really those things happen when COVID happened. It wasn't his fault. He didn't start it.
Hmm.
He just had to try and manage it. And
Right.
at the end of the day, guess what? We are in an extremely high inflationary environment, and the Federal Reserve has to get inflation back down to something that's reasonable. And
Yeah.
so, therefore, this is what you do, and it's the adjustments that we make. But guess what? Historically, there are great opportunities to own the market now, and
Hmm.
I hope everybody takes a moment to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and this is the fourth time that the rate has been raised. Is that correct? For
Yeah.
fourth time by Powell, Chairman Powell. Um, but it's interesting that, like you said, trying to correct the market. There is opportunity to still make money in the market. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, guess what? Markets go from one space to another, one sector to the other. And so, if you look at what happened in um, um, 2020, right, when COVID happened and the entire economy shut down, the economy went to zero. But guess what? Biotech companies, those companies, all did well. Technology companies, Zoom then became a thing that we rely on today, and it was birthed out of a bad stock market and a bad economic environment in the world. So,
Yes, indeed.
um, you just got to be active. You got to kind of know what your time horizons are, and put some money to work.
Absolutely. And you can learn more about the stock market in our Master's Financial Investment class by tuning in every Thursday virtually from 5:30 to 6:30 Central Standard Time. If you are interested, contact me at sratliff68 at yahoo.com and I'll send you a Zoom link to access the class. You do not have to appear in person. This is virtual. This is free. You're getting free knowledge. This is a conversation that takes place every Thursday, led by my co-facilitator, Terrence Hollingsworth. The brother is certified. He's knowledgeable. He is experienced, and he's successful as an investment advisor. So please take advantage of this brother who knows finance, the word of
The,
finance.
the thing that's great is to get a bunch of people in the room that all kind of have questions, and people, they share their experiences, they have questions, and you feel better because guess what? You find out that the things that you're wondering about, somebody else is wondering about. So you put it on the table, we talk through it, and hopefully it just creates that environment where people feel comfortable, and when it's all said and done, again, putting some money to work because,
Yeah.
I say this a lot, but we have lived through the greatest wealth creation era in the history of the world, and we're living through the greatest wealth transfer in the history of the world. But the majority of people in the world have not benefited from it, and especially in the Black community,
Yes.
and that's terrible.
Yeah, and even from that, speaking of the Black community, please go out and vote next Tuesday. Early voting is taking
Absolutely.
place now. We need to vote because guess what? The Republicans and others who are trying to flip what's at the House, um, they're going to be out there voting. So African Americans in particular have a low turnout, the lowest turnout during midterm elections. So please get out there and vote local election, state seats, whatever is available. Please, voter suppression is taking place. You've seen the debate, Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp in Georgia. They're not happy about who's sitting there in the Senate and the governorship. They don't want to give it up. So please, African Americans, my brothers and sisters, get out there and vote.
Absolutely. I'm going to get off of here so we can talk to Aaron, who, he'll tell you he started his career as I did at Triton College
Me
in the
too.
student senate, right? And I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about him. So see you guys on Thursday, and talk to you later. See ya.
All right. And so, what I like to do is give a brief introduction for our guest, Aaron Janovsky. Brothers down to earth, as real as they come, and I'm happy to know him as a fellow graduate of Providence East High School. Aaron is a graduate of Urban Elementary School. He started off at Emerson. He graduated from Urban as a Tiger. It's all right. I won't hold it against him. But he is a class of '86 graduate from Providence East High School, '86 in the mix. He's also a Triton alum. He graduated from Triton College. And from there, he was the first Triton College Student Association president, the first African American Student Association president. We'll talk about that during this conversation tonight. He has also led multiple peace marches in both Maywood and the city of Chicago. He is the founder of Noble Knights in 2013. He's former intern for Chicago Cubs and the Chicago Bulls. He's the current voice of the Chicago Blitz. He's also the current voice of the Proviso East basketball team, current member of Poet, a poetry and community empowering group. He also writes poetry. He'll talk about that as well. And he's the host and founder of the Arena Chicago Sports Talk Network. And so one of the things I want to also mention that he loves people. He loves to give back to his community. And we're going to talk about that right now. Let's bring on Mr. Aaron Janovsky. Aaron, are you there?
I am here, and I am honored to be here. Proud to be here. Thank you so much for having me on, fellow class of 1986.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's up? Yes, sir. What was that? Dirty Low Down, 86 in the mix.
That's right, 86 in the mix, baby.
Yes, sir. So happy to have you on. It's only fitting that we, pay tribute to a fallen pirate, Brian Hines. Let's talk about him just for a moment.
Man, it's an honor to talk about Brian. This is a gentleman that was larger than life. I mean, he had an enormous personality. He's about 5'9", 5'10", but Brian had the personality of a 7'5" guy. I mean, he just exploded wherever he was. And, certain people you meet tend to have tendencies that sort of remind you of different things. And we have a classmate named Lolita Gillespie who reminds me of a princess. She's always has. And Brian reminds me of a superhero. He just has that feel to him, like he's impenetrable. And he just, what I loved about Brian, the beauty of Brian is that he accepted his flaws and he accepted your flaws too. As long as you weren't being ignorant, he could care less what some people might call flaws. He accepted you into his circle, and he was just an amazing, talented performer. I mean, if you went to a performance with him, Aaron Smith, and Kevin Johnson for Rubber Room, you came home exhausted because Brian had that knack for drawing the crowd in, getting everybody hyped. He was all over the stage, a phenomenal lyricist, just an incredible talent. And I heard Sonia McCoy described his voice as a blend between DMX and Dave Chappelle, and I thought she nailed it. Absolutely nailed it, because that's exactly how he sounded, and truly, truly gifted. And we are so sad. Javette Hines and Casey Hines, obviously our classmate, we send all our love and prayers to that family, because we lost a good one, Reggie. We lost a good one.
Yeah, we certainly did. Brother was down to earth, and he never met a stranger. I mean, he was a cool brother, and he had a very, very nice spirit, very warm spirit, and he will certainly be missed here on earth. Heaven has really gained a very immaculate, very sweet soul, very kind brother. So to the Hines family, extended family, and those of us who knew him, our prayers go out to everyone, and may he continue rest in eternal peace.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And Javette and Casey too are just amazing people in their own right. So they'll live on his legacy, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. We will never forget Brian Hines. And so as we prepare to transition into the work that you have done in the village of Maywood, city of Chicago, and beyond, I want to talk to you just about your growing up in Maywood. You did go to Emerson. You did grow up. You graduated from Irvin. I mean, you're a Tiger.
Yeah.
I won't hold that against you, being a Garfield Giant and all. You quoted Sonia McCoy. She is a Garfield Giant as well. So
I'm gonna hold that against her.
Great comments come from great Giants, but nonetheless, talk about your experiences growing up in Maywood, Aaron.
When I was growing up at Emerson, I was very fortunate. I had some great teachers there, Miss Quiney, Miss Shaughnessy, and we're very fortunate there. And that was my fourth grade year. And then I switched over to Irving, in part because we moved. My family was over there off of 5th and Randolph, and then we had to move. So we moved into the city, but my parents didn't want us to get away from our friends. So they had us still going to Maywood through a mutual friend, and we went to Irving. But when I grew up, I was probably the poorest family that I knew at that time. We didn't have a whole lot. My father was really sick from heart trouble. He had multiple heart attacks, and he had multiple health issues, so he couldn't work. So we were living off my mom's income. And we were really poor. I mean, it was really, really bad, but it had a severe impact on me and my older brother, Josh. And later in life, I transitioned that into helping people. But so I remember standing at Irving, 8th grade, and watching everybody else leave to go on the 8th grade trip. And I was the only one that couldn't go, watching the bus leave. And it just broke my heart tremendously. So then, but I loved my time at Irving. I had some great friends there, and I learned a lot. At Irving, and then moved on to Proviso Beach. But that whole time in my life, we had so much love in our home. My parents were so loving and so God-fearing. My father died at a very early age. I was 19. My father passed away from his illnesses, finally gave in, but he had worked his entire life. He was an extremely intelligent man. He was ambidextrous. He could write with both hands. And I mean, he used to sit there with 2 pens and draw these designs, these intricate designs. He wanted to be an architect. And he could draw these intricate designs with both hands at the same time and just blow your mind away.
Yeah.
He was just a brilliant, brilliant man. And we were very fortunate to have him. He didn't understand his value. But I understood his value because I knew how intelligent and how smart he was. And my mom called him her soulmate. So they loved each other dearly. And they went through a lot because back in those days, as you know, Reggie, the race thing was big. It's big now. Yeah. But my mom's father was a supporter of the KKK. He was a sheriff for Phillips, Wisconsin. And he did not hide his fact that he had no love for my father. And they actually had to elope to Chicago from Milwaukee to get away from her father so they would be safe. And, they did. And I'm so fortunate to have an older brother like Josh. Yeah. Man, he's just been a great guidance, and we stuck together and brought our family together. So even though we weren't financially secure, back then. We were living week to week at times, and sometimes even less than that.
Yeah.
We had so much love together in that house. We were very fortunate. So.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Aaron, because one thing that you mentioned is the love. The love is an invaluable resource. Everyone doesn't have love, and I learned, growing up, like yourself, not a lot of money, in the household. It was 7 of us, but we had the love. I mean, we support each other through thick and thin, and during those times, in the transition for families, raising 7 children was not easy. And so you had to really try to make ends meet the best you can. I'm like you. I mean, you didn't go to DC in 8th grade, right?
Right.
Neither did I. So
wow. Okay.
I said, I'm going to be part of that mix one day to DC. And guess what? I live in the DMV. It was what motivated me. It's what shaped me. So how did that shape you in terms of the experiences you had, during those challenging times?
Well, I would tell you that, I went to a great church, First Baptist Church of Maywood at the time. Mm-hmm. I had some great leaders around me, youth leaders, Jeff Skemp and Phil, a gentleman named Phil, and Ed Newman. But also my brother Josh. When my father passed away, Josh took over our family. I mean, I have so much love for my brother right now. He really became like a half father, half brother.
Yeah.
So he took care of me and my mom. He went to work. He dropped out of school and went to work. He paid the bills. There were times, Reggie, I'd be sitting around at our apartment in Merrill's Park at the time. He'd come to the door and say, "Come on, let's go." I'm like, "Where we going?" He's like, "You need some clothes." And he would take me to the store and just buy me clothes or buy me dinner. Or, I mean, he was just, he's always been that way. And he's still that way to this day.
Yeah.
He's just a great guy. So I was very fortunate to have an older brother who cared and showed love. So one of the things I know you want to move incrementally, but one of the things that I'm so proud of my brother about is he was one of the inspirations for the organization that we started. And it's because of his attitude. It's because of his leadership. It's because that he recognized that despite the fact that we didn't have much, we had more than other people might have.
Yeah.
And he taught me that you can always give no matter how little you might have. And he's truly an inspiration.
Absolutely. How did the name Noble Knights? Where did that come from, Aaron?
That's a great question. That is something that I came up with. And what happened, Reggie, I don't know if you remember, it was about 9-10 years ago when a plane, I think they was coming out of Russia, flew into a mountain and killed everybody on the plane. And everybody, a lot of people were, heard a lot of concern, like, why would God let this happen? Why would God let this happen? So I did a lot of meditating at the time, and I realized that for some reason, we are drawn to negativity. You see a fight in school, some people run towards it, some people walk away from it. I walked away from it. I was never drawn into that kind of thing. Just not attracted to it. But my point for saying that is, I realized at the time that we were getting sucked into so much negativity that we needed something positive. We needed a space where we could talk about God. We could help each other out. It was about helping people. So I created this group on Facebook called Noble Knights. That's how it started. And I cannot go any further without mentioning Randy Hale, Daryl and Darian's younger brother, Taylor, younger brother, from Maywood as well, because he had a huge influence on it. So I started that group, and I was posting a lot of positive things, and it was getting some traction. Sometimes it wasn't. So this was in like April of 2013, somewhere around there. And about October, I said, well, you know what? I'm not getting a lot of likes. I'm not getting a lot of looks. I'm just going to shut the page down. So I sent a message to several people saying, hey, look, I'm going to shut the page down. Not getting a lot of likes. And then the reaction was overwhelming. Keisha McKenna, whom you know, Randy Hale. I mean, just Lolita reached out to me like, man, we need that positive vibe.
Lolita Gillespie, right?
Don't shut it down. So Randy came to me and he's like, Aaron, why don't we do something else? Why don't we grow from this page and start doing something physical?
Right.
So then the thought came to me, hey, let's do Noble Nights. Let's go out and help the homeless. Once a year, we go out on the second Saturday of every December. And the thought occurred to me to go to Paul's Pizza in Westchester, because when I was still married, I would go in there while I was going through my divorce, and Paul was just so helpful, man, and just one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Former Mayor of Westchester, Illinois, Paul Gattuso. And there was one particular time when my son was in my oldest son was in a group that was going to England, and he got selected and nominated by his teacher, and they went to England. And it was just really nice that it was my job to set up this huge picnic for everybody, and I had to get the food and everything and organize it. There's like 200 people that were showing up, all the kids that were going and their parents. So I went to Le Petit Cafe on Manheim Road and solicited them for help because I was a regular customer there, and they were like, "Oh yeah, no problem, we'll help you out." And then I went to Paul's, and Paul said, "Absolutely, Aaron, I'll be happy to donate hot dogs, burgers, whatever you need." So the day before, I went to Le Petit Cafe to check in, and she said, "No, I talked to my owner. We decided not to help you." And I was like, "Wait a minute. I'm in here with my family at least once a week. Right. Every time you have something going on during the holidays, I help you out. I buy something for you. I always participate. And now you're telling me no?" I said, "We're talking about kids here." Right. So I was concerned then, and I went to Paul's Pizza, explained to him what happened. Reggie should have seen the reaction. Paul was like, "Whatever you need, Aaron, I'll double it, triple it, whatever you need. Get here tomorrow. Whatever you need, 200 hot dogs, I got them. 200 burgers, I got them. Whatever you need." And he gave us all the food we needed for that event. Wow. And so I learned from Paul. So when we did Noble Nights, I asked him if we could use his place to organize and to set up shop before we left. He opened his doors wide, Reggie. I mean, He was so giving. And he's been doing it every year, allowing us to come in before they open. We organize the clothes. We have people that assemble bags and stuff to hand out to the homeless. And I could not happen without the great man that Paul Gattuso is. So
what a blessing. What a blessing, Aaron. And just as you have received, you've also been a blessing to many others. And I can attest that you have been an asset in the community, in Maywood, in Chicago, in Westchester, Proviso Township, as a whole, and the lives that you've touched, names that are not mentioned, will definitely stand witness of the great work that you're doing. And what I want to do is just piggyback for a moment. You talked about growing up in Maywood. You talked about your wonderful dad, your mom, your older brother, those who have helped you along the way. Let's look at the relationship that you've built, even at Proviso East. Because you didn't just jump from the household to Noble Nights. There was something that happened in between, and that is Proviso East, because that's when you really started to grow as a young man, right? I mean, you started to find yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I was very fortunate. When I was a freshman at Proviso East, I knew going in I was going to be swimming varsity, and Chris Mangle at the time was the coach. I don't know if you remember Chris. Because he was near retirement at that time, but he was our head coach at the time. And man, Chris, I've had a lot of coaches over the years for swimming at Fred Hampton Pool. I've had him at Triton. I've had him at other places, but Chris Mangle will forever be my favorite coach of all time. The impact that he had on me my freshman year and how he pushed me and made me realize, that I had to take that sport seriously was just huge. And it just truly impacted me more out of the pool than in the pool. And I will never forget Chris Mangle and his impact that he had on me at that school. And also, my best friend, I can't go any further without mentioning Keith Fiala and Kevin Johnson. I mean, these are guys that I grew up with. I DJ'd with them, and just really good people. And Charles Baker as well, another one that's had an impact on my life. So very fortunate to have these guys. And me, Charles, Kevin, and Keith, we have a going thread that still goes today, that we always hit each other up every day or every other day, and somebody's dropping a comment and we're looking out for each other. And so it's a blessing to have those guys continue in my life. But yeah, they had a huge impact. And then Coach G is what we call him now. He's the head coach of the girls basketball team at Proviso East right now. Hasn't aged a day, but he became our coach at Proviso East, And it was fun. He made us wear suits wherever we went. I had to find a suit. I'm like piecemealing a suit together, But we had to look nice getting on the bus. He was militant. He was militant, but we loved him though. We loved him. He was a great coach. So
well, you're talking over 4 decades, man, of friendship and camaraderie, and you remember this from back then, and
goodness,
still to this day, that brotherhood, to this day. You know, we're talking the early 1980, 83 to what, 86, 80, fall 82 to 86.
You know, it's funny. It's funny because as we stated, I announced for the girls basketball team, and you see him there, and you know, we always talk, we always chit chat. He's always asking about ex swimmers like Janovsky. And we're always talking about him. But I mean, I'm like, man, when are you gonna start growing some gray hair, man? You know, come on, when are you gonna start getting wrinkles, brother? Because the man just looks brand new. Look like he was 20 years old still. I don't get it.
Hey, good genes. But you also swam with Don Richter, right?
I swam with Don Richter, great guy. From the moment from the moment I met Don, he was smiling. Until the last day I saw him, he was smiling. Just a silly dude. But let me tell you something. He took his swimming seriously. He was a great teammate. He was a competitor. He was so much fun to be around. He just broke the tension. And he and I just recently reconnected. And I'm so proud of him because he became the firefighter that he always talked about that he wanted to be. And he just recently retired. I can't remember what town it was, but he just recently retired. You talk about good people, man. And also, God rest his soul, Ricky Wood. Also our classmate from 86. He passed away about 10 years ago, unfortunately. But he was our teammate as well, and Ricky was, man. I mean, I spent nights at Ricky's house before meets, and he and I would hang out, and he would make pizza, homemade pizza, and that was like our thing. But Ricky was my guy too. So we're very fortunate.
Encompasses the village of Maywood. You know, we all came from different schools in District 89, and whether it's from Irvin or Garfield or Emerson or Lexington or Lincoln, I mean, wherever, Jane Addams, it didn't matter, Melrose Park, it didn't matter. We all came to one at Proviso East. And, to this day, we are still a very united class. That's amazing, right? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, no question about it. Greg Kelly, who's doing some great things in the community as well. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, I'm so proud of Lolita Gillespie and everything that she's doing. She's been a strong supporter of Noble Knights. Stoney Gillespie's been a strong supporter of Noble Knights. We've been very fortunate to have those people. Randall McFarland, who I call the mayor of Maywood. I mean, Rajeska Jackson. I mean, just the best of Proviso group. They do some phenomenal work in the community, and I'm so proud to be a part of them and work with them. We do a lot of work together, and I'm so fortunate. But Randall's what got me started really at Proviso East as announcing work. He really was the lead and the connection for me there. But that was Randall's been a real integral part of my life over the last 10 years, I would say, for sure.
You are the voice of Maywood, Aaron. You are the voice to everything, the heartbeat of Maywood. Seriously. Proviso East basketball, okay?
Appreciate that.
Decades of success, dozens of players going to various levels of professional basketball. Not to make mention, I mean, I can't think about wrestling. I mean, we did the state championship. I am not going to go through this podcast.
All the time.
Yes, but we were a community, and just to see that you are the man you are today, who is the voice of Maywood, the voice of Proviso East, and starting a sports talk radio show, and that's just a culmination of everything that you've done, through District 89, District 209, as a representative of Maywood. So when people say, does anything good come from Maywood? I tell them to do your research before you assume. You should never assume. So you are just the latest example of somebody who's doing great things, just at the voice for Proviso East. How or why made you go in that direction to take that step and to do that?
Well, that's a great question. And the origin starts with my marriage. So I got divorced, happily got divorced. And I have 3 amazing kids from my marriage. So it had a beautiful outcome anyway. But got divorced and decided, hey, I want to do what I want to do with my life. So I went back to school, went to Illinois Center for Broadcasting, now called Illinois Media School. Got my certificate from there, worked with a great guy, TJ Tomcat Tracy, and this guy named Pedro Guzman. And I started this radio show called The Arena. And this was back in 2012, I believe it was, 2013. And we've been on the air all that time ever since. On and off a little bit. We're taking a hiatus right now, but TJ and I have been together primarily for that. So when I was interning for the Chicago Bulls team, it was their G League team, I was working as a statistician. And one day I happened to sit next to the guy that was the PA announcer. He was on my left side. And he heard me talking to my classmate who was on my right, and he heard my voice. And during a break, he said, what's your name? I said, Aaron. He said, listen, man, you got a great voice, dude. Have you ever thought about doing what I'm doing? I said, man, I would love to do it. So we talked and we got to know each other over the course of the season. And then he invited me out to one of his high school announcing gigs at Trinity, which you know Trinity very well.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I sat there and next to him and watched him do his thing. And I was amazed at what he does. And then at the end, he said, here, you want to take the mic and tell people to drive home safely? I said, sure. So I grabbed the mic and I'm starting to talk. And I realized I'm awful. I'm terrible, man. I sucked. People looking at me like, who's this fool on the mic? Take the mic away from him.
Right.
I was awful. And I looked at Nick and I was like, don't ever give me the mic again, man. I don't know if I can do this, man.
Right.
And Nick was like, look, I put you on the spot. It's your first time.
Right.
So then I heard that the guy at Provides Luis was leaving, and Randall's like, man, you need to apply for this job. So I applied for the job, didn't get it right away. The guy that was there, I forget his name. I think it was Mr. Moore, but he wanted to have last approval on the person that was going to replace him. So a couple guys went in. He didn't like them. So then they asked me to come in and sit down and do a game. So I did a game next to him, and he right away he was like, Aaron, that's the guy I want right there. He's the one I want to replace me. He's awesome.
Yes.
So I took over and I started doing the boys in February of about 7 years ago. And the girls team attended a game once, and Dr. Colbert, I think, was the athletic director at the time. And they went to him and said, look, is there any way you could get Aaron to announce our games? We love the way he announces the games. We love it.
Right.
So I started announcing girls games, and I do girls and boys. And I would tell you the reaction that I get because I put a lot of energy into it. I put a lot of enthusiasm into it. I don't steal anybody's stuff. Everything that you hear is mine originally. I take pride in that. So all my calls, all my announcing, it's all me. And I've had teams that lost that Provides we smoked, and their coach will come up, or the referees will come up, or their fans will come up, and I can't walk out of the gym without somebody saying, man, you are amazing, dude. We love you, bro. You are amazing. You made this so much fun.
Yeah.
So it happens all the time. And then I started doing volleyball last year. We had regionals.
Right.
And Lane Tech was there, and Lane Tech won it. And after, it was like a 3-day event I was announcing. And after they won regionals at Provides Luis, Lane Tech boys volleyball team came up to me. They're like, Mr. Announcer? And I said, yeah. And said, do you mind if we get a picture with you? I'm like, you want a picture with me?
Right.
And they're like, absolutely want a picture with you. And their parents were there, and the coaches came up. Man, Reggie, they gave me the plaque, the winning plaque. They all team huddled around me, and they started taking pictures. And I was so humbled, man. I couldn't believe it.
That's
but then the coach was, it was an amazing experience. And then the coach was like, hey, is there any way you could announce for us? And, we'd love to have you. I said, absolutely. So I gave him my card, and I've been announcing for Lane Tech girls volleyball this year. And it's been a blast, man. It's been a blast.
You recently were broadcasting a volleyball game. Was it a regional game? Just recently, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just that was York. The York Dukes beat Wheaton Warrenville South.
Okay.
And I think there was a rematch for regionals last year. I'm not sure who won it last year, but I know that York won this year. But it was so interesting because they came up to me, the players from York came up to me, the girls, and like, you are so good. We love you so much. Oh my God, we love you. Yeah. And the referee, this one particular referee, she came up to me and she's like, we're so glad you're here. We love your energy. We love your enthusiasm. So when they hired me, when Dr. Colbert hired me, I explained to him, I said, listen, I'm going to announce this game. If there's one person in the gym or there's 6,000 people in the gym, you're getting the same out of me no matter what. Because I want everybody to have an experience. I want everybody to know when they step in this court, Provides Luis has got a home court advantage. And that I'm going to do everything I can to help my players win, my team win. And so when I announce that team, I give it everything I got. You think you at a Bulls game, you think you're at the Olympics, we try to create that environment, and I give it everything I got, Reggie.
You do, man. And when I saw you announcing that game, I was looking at the screen and I'm like, those don't look like Proviso Weeks volleyball players. But he has the same energy, but they don't look like us. But you were natural. I mean, you had that energy and the vibe was obviously there. And yeah, man, it was very professional. Very professional, man. It was phenomenal.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I learned at Illinois Media School, some of the people that I've learned from are actual DJs, sports DJs on AM 1000. Jonathan, mentor of mine. The afternoon crew, Waddle and Sylvie. Sylvie is a mentor of mine. I'm working with, if you remember the former Fighting Illini, Stephen Bardot. He and I are working together. He's trying to help me get. He's trying to help me get my foot in the professional end of announcing because he loves my voice. He's been on our show a few times and he's been phenomenal. So. So he's trying to help me break into the business, and hopefully that'll happen soon. I love what I get. I love what I get a chance to do. Earlier in this interview, you said Aaron loves people, and you couldn't be more correct. And I would even add to that Aaron loves helping people. So for me, it's important to give every single thing that I have, right? Because I want those students, I want those Proviso East teammates to understand you are important, you matter. And if you listen to my broadcast, I always take a minute to thank the parents for coming out, for the teachers and their dedication to the students, because it's about supporting our youth and giving back to our youth and helping them understand that we care, that what you're doing matters. And so I want them to feel that energy, that love coming from the crowd and from Proviso Township. And that's why I try to announce it, give it that way. So.
Very well stated, Aaron. And yeah, you are a person that helps people. You love it, and it's genuine. You don't seek accolades or anything like that, awards. And that's why I love you, brother, because you are as genuine as they come, especially growing up with you through Proviso East. And so as we start to wind down this podcast, this wonderful interview, you were the first Black student body president at Triton College. And I can't help but ask you this question because you're talking about, our young people and their state of mind, which is different than our state of mind growing up. We didn't know if somebody was poor or going through whatever, because there was a lot of love and a lot of support. Even when we won the state championship, there was support, man. We were a community. When we won on the mat, we won as a community. We celebrated together. All of us did. All of us celebrated together. And you take it to the highest halls of academia, becoming the first ever elected Black student body president at Triton College. Triton College, unlike Proviso East back then, was not majority Black.
Right.
So that is a major accomplishment for you to achieve. Just talk about that for a moment. And then from there, talk about our young African-American males in particular who are struggling in our communities, Aaron.
Yeah, and I think this is a great perspective. When I ran for student body president, I actually ran on a ticket that had a gay man, a gay woman, another Black man on it as well. And we had an Arabic also running on our ticket. We called ourselves the multicultural ticket. And one of the things that we tried to show everyone is that it doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter, right? So we wanted to make sure that we represented each culture properly, and we wanted everyone to have a voice. And I think it's very important right now, especially our youth today, that they recognize that their voice matters. When we ran on that ticket, we won by a record amount. So we had the most turnout ever in the history of TCSA elections. We had the most votes for a particular party. And we made a lot of changes on the campus. The Triton Trust, if you see it, it's on every building that you enter. It's called the Triton Trust. We wrote that Triton Trust. Those lights for the night students, we're the ones that dedicated those lights. Those phones that you see, emergency phones for night students, that's what we did. We accomplished that. We redid the entire computer lab. Triton College had even though it's a junior college, had the largest operating budget of any student government in the country. That includes Harvard, that includes MIT. We had the largest one, and we helped out the students. We used that money to help the students, and I'm so proud of that. As far as the youth, it's very important that we recognize what's going on. So we have people say black on black crime and so forth. What we have to do is understand, and I gave a speech about this to our youth, is that we have forgotten, or at least disavowed, where we came from. When we don't understand the power of who we were, we will never understand the power of who we are. And we have forgotten the power of who we were. So without understanding that we come from royalty, without understanding that our women are amazing and shouldn't be made light of, and shouldn't be made sex symbols of, we should be lifting them up, then we are doomed to crumble. And I cannot go any further without mentioning the group Poet, People of Extraordinary Talent, led by Black Ice. He is an amazing leader, and he and I got together and organized several peace marches through Inglewood, through the West Side, and through Maywood, some of the most dangerous neighborhoods that you can imagine. And we had hundreds of people out there with us saying, put down the guns and stop the violence, stop hurting each other. But once we recognize the value of who we are, we got to start hitting these people at a young age, letting them understand that it's beautiful to be Black. Our Black women are incredibly beautiful, and our Black men are incredibly intelligent, and our leaders are strong, and hit them at a young age and make them proud of who they are and what they stand for. Then and only then can we curtail this violence.
Love it. I love it. And that just put a bow on it. You said something in the beginning, though. You said being associated with First Baptist Church.
Yeah.
We need the churches to step back up, right? I mean, like they did when we were growing up and supporting us. And we need the churches in Maywood to step up and to support our young people, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And getting involved in the community with organizations like Brothers in Christ, who also do amazing work in the community, and I've worked with them as well. Again, Poet, if you want to reach out to Poet, you can go to Poet's website, and you can be a part. You're interested in being a spoken word poet or just writing poetry, you can do that. You can go to Noble Knights page on Facebook. You can go to the Arena Facebook page as well and be a part. We got stuff coming up. November 21st, I'll be at Triton College dedicating a ceremony to my former swim coach who passed away not too long ago, Dr. George Jordan. I'll be out there celebrating at 2 p.m. and be a part of the ceremony. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. Also, Noble Knights, second Saturday of December, we'll be leaving from Paul's Pizza in Westchester, and we'll be going out to the community and helping the homeless. So, I'm very fortunate. I have a huge heart. I got it from my brother, from my family, and from the great folks that I grew up with, Keith Fiala, Kevin Johnson, Odin Jarkowski, just amazing people. Charles Baker, even now, Randall McFarland. I could go on and on and on, but Lolita Gillespie. But yeah, so just come on out and be a part of it, man. And you don't. One thing I learned, my brother taught me. I'll tell this quick story, and we can end it here. When we were poor and we were living off Independence Boulevard, we were right over there on Holman and Crenshaw, which is right around Roosevelt and Kedzie. And my brother now, who's white, in a Black neighborhood, very difficult Black neighborhood. We got off the train there at Independence Boulevard, and my brother, we had to walk home, and there was these bunch of Black guys hanging out in the corner there, and they were yelling all these epitaphs of my brother, and they were just, they were hitting him up with all these swear words, and you in the wrong neighborhood, and this and that. He didn't say anything. Look forward. We had about a 6-block walk till we got home. He goes upstairs, goes straight to the kitchen. Now, again, we're poor. We have food for us to eat. He takes the bread, takes the peanut butter and jelly, starts making sandwiches. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, leave me alone. Just leave me alone. So all of a sudden, he puts everything in the bag and he leaves. And I'm like, okay, I can't let him go by himself. So I stayed back, about 20 feet behind him, but I followed him. And he went all the way back to the train where we got off the train there in Independence Boulevard. And all these guys are still yelling, swear words at him and threatening him. He didn't care one bit. Reggie, right there in the corner in that strip mall was about 4 homeless people. And my brother risked his life and gave food that we barely have for ourselves to feed these homeless people. So let me tell you something. You don't need a lot in order to help somebody to make a difference. All you got to have is that want to. See, sometimes God puts us in places we pray and we say, God, I want to serve. What you got to recognize is God puts us where he needs us to be. Once you understand that, The glory is not the reward from God. The glory is the serving of God. Once you recognize the beauty in serving our Father, then you will understand the blessings that are in your life right now. And we are so blessed continually every day, Reggie.
Amen, my brother. Well said, Aaron. And you said something that was really powerful. What your brother did, it probably saved you both because he's being proactive. He saw that they had a need, and he filled that need by providing food. I mean, who knew? But your brother, he knew that was that maturity. And then you talked about the spiritual realm, the agape love, the filial love, the brotherhood love, unconditional love. And when you have that, you change souls and you change lives. And brother, I appreciate everything that you're doing, everything that you've done, and everything that you are about to do, because powerful blessings are coming your way. You just wait and see. And I'm so happy to be your friend and your class of 86 classmate.
Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it. Anytime.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'm very encouraged. I'm very empowered. I hope you feel the same way. Brother Aaron Janovsky, a Maywood product, Provides Reach graduate, Triton College graduate, and downright good young man who's doing great things in the community. Tune in for our next broadcast as we'll bring another exciting guest who is doing great things, not just in Maywood, but throughout Proviso Township. I am Dr. Reggie Ratliff. Thank you for joining us tonight. God bless you. Be safe. Good night.